Renfield is a beautiful movie. It's very symbolic to what someone from abuse comes from. It's very gritty. It has that dark empathy for someone who is in an abuse relationship. And it really symbolizes how, not only how dark it is, but how symbolism it is, because when you're someone who's devoted to Dracula, and Dracula is manipulative in this movie, very manipulative, just like someone who's an abuser. And an abuser, when someone tries to get out of a relationship, who's been abused, a victim, there's so much of this movie, and I don't want to spoil it, but there's so much of this movie where Dracula, or the villain himself, tries to make him the victim of the abusive relationship, and Renfield is the one who is the abuser, and that is not the case. There is so much of this movie that I loved how it symbolizes a relationship, because when you're someone who's devoted to Dracula, there's so much of us people who have been abused, and it symbolizes how dark and how hurtful that is to be in that relationship. I mean, there's so much of the relationship where it could go horribly wrong, horribly south. There's so much bad and negative when it comes to an abuse, and how long it feels. That's what Renfield, the story, symbolizes, is how energetically long, and how it makes us people who've been abused, the abused victims, feel. And what I loved about this movie was that it made, because some of us do feel like we're anti-heroes, or we're the ones who are dark, or we're not the good enough people, but we are someone who always needs to fix ourselves. And Renfield is someone who comes from an abusive relationship. I mean, people who come out of an abusive relationship, they come, and I know some people are going to say he's gay, but I don't know if he's gay. But when you're someone who's in an abused relationship, you really don't know the world. And I had a mental health issue from the abusive relationship I had with my father. That came off so long that I didn't know how the world works. I didn't know how much. I didn't understand much of the world. And sometimes my father got things wrong, and sometimes I got things wrong because my father told me so, but apparently he was wrong himself. There's so much of this world, of this movie, that represents an abused relationship, and someone who comes from a victim of an abused relationship, and how it symbolizes and how it feels. I mean, there's so much of what Dracula does that symbolizes what a relationship can do to someone who can be manipulative on someone. Like, I need you coming, master, and all that shit. I mean, there's so much of this movie. I don't want to spoil anything. I don't. But honestly, there's so much of this movie that is beautiful in every way of a relationship. When Renfield gets out of the relationship, we don't know how the world works sometimes. So, and it's very hard mentally because our abusers are methodically abusive and hurtful and dragging us down to where we don't know what the world is. And I really loved how this movie both symbolized the villains, like we understand why they were doing it, and Nicolas Cage is a badass motherfucking villain. He's a really good villain. I loved how he portrayed Dracula. He's the best version of Dracula. And he is actually the darkest version of Dracula I've ever seen. I mean, man. Renfield is an absolute awesome character. I loved how he is someone who symbolizes someone of a victim of an abusive relationship. And with how long he's had a relationship with his abuser, that's how long sometimes it feels. So, I'm dragging on, but yeah. There are some scenes that are a little lagging, but it is 9 out of 10 for me. Or 8 out of 10. Thank you. This is your Corey Daydream signing off.